Hey YouTubers! It's MJ. I'm Mark. We're here to talk to you guys about a new series I have on my channel. Hopefully you've seen the other two videos that we've done in this particular series. But basically we're talking about Dragon Ball Super and fights that should potentially happen in Dragon Ball Super. And we're not power scaling. We're not saying one person's going to definitely beat the other or one of those things, like just power-wise or whatever. I definitely want to just talk about people and to determine like how this fight would basically move the story forward for the most part. Like how would one person fighting another person either come about, and who would basically win, and what that would basically mean for the story. And we were discussing this last night before we actually came to this video topic. And it's like, hey, like, you know, with most people coming in for the Tournament of Power, the Tournament of Might, you know, whatever, the Tournament of Strategy, I was wondering and asking MJ, like, what he thought. Like, what do you think? Who do you think should fight and for what reasons? And he was like, you know who should fight? Vegeta and Kale, for a plethora of reasons, and probably a lot of story-wise reasons or anything like that. So before I say anything, I want MJ to basically elaborate on that point. So MJ, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, man, you know, Mark just asked me, you know, in his usual way, hey, man, so who should fight, man, in the tournament, man? I'm just like, I'm thinking Vegeta and Kale, and he's like, oh, all right, man, yeah. So I'm like, okay, all right. So the reason why I picked Vegeta and Kale is for, I guess, one big reason. There is multiple reasons, but for one big reason is the idea that I think people are forgetting that supposedly, according to the bio, according to that code source stuff, it says she goes into a berserker state. So people are kind of thinking to their heads, you know, okay, this actually may not be called the legendary transformation. This would be like a berserker transformation, or like a rage berserker or super saiyan berserker, whatever, right? And if that's
actually a cool name.
It's a cool name. So if that's the name, then obviously it's not actually the legendary form. It's just paying tribute to the legendary form. And remember, guys, Super has no connection whatsoever with, you know, Broly and the movies and all that. So with that being said, this is a new form entirely, and this will be a new form entirely to Vegeta and the other Saiyans, you know what I mean? And one particular thing is that Vegeta, who was a strategist, knew about the different grades, you know what I mean? He knew about, obviously, grade 2, grade 3, and Cell even speculates that the reason why he didn't use grade 3 like Trunks is because he knew of the, I guess, the flaws in it, you know? We even saw that in Super, where, you know, he tells Trunks, why are you using that form? It's like an outdated form. So I think it would make the most sense for, like, Vegeta, who's supposed to be this, you know, strategist. He's, I guess, the Super Saiyan master, even though he couldn't master Super Saiyan 3. You know, stuff like that. It would be cool to see him react to this new form that he's never seen before. It's like, you know, green hair. The person bulks up, makes Jiren look like a twig. and I know Mike would like that. Mike would pop for that laughy stuff. Harold would pop for that, bro. See all those muscles. But anyways, Vegeta would like just freak out, because not only is he like witnessing this new form right in front of his eyes, it's a form that not only takes advantage of the power, but I would presume the speed, because that's kind of like how Broly's form worked. Broly not only got big, he also kept his speed, you know?
And so when you think about that particular form and how it would work in the story, like you mentioned, and it would actually be a really interesting callback for someone like Kale, and what we saw between Trunks and Vegeta in the last arc of Dragon Ball Super is, you know, he's sitting there going like, oh, this is easy. He knows exactly what's going on here, and he knows, or at least believes, that he can take Kale out pretty easily. But the fact that she's probably, if it is that homage to Broly that we're actually seeing, this berserker form is not only muscular but loses no speed, maybe even gets faster.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting story-wise to see him go up against her and maybe lose the advantage that he has in power, because he's not necessarily thinking that, I mean, obviously with his connection with the forms in the past, he might imagine, like he did with Trunks, that there's no way to actually utilize this form to any real degree. Like, I'm going to just curb stomp this girl off the stage, like, and she won't even be able to fight me. And then at the same time, you're sitting there going like, well, no, she's actually faster than you think, and then she actually gets the upper hand. I personally like that concept, because it's not something that, if you give her the upper hand for at least a little bit, you can have a really awesome fight between Kale and Vegeta, just showing the fact that maybe, just maybe, with that small advantage as much. That's the only thing you need in a fight like this, and it might put Vegeta on the ropes, at least for a little second. So at that point, like, she doesn't have to be as strong as a god, but she does get to take on a god in an interesting way. And as they've been pushing, you know, like strategy, don't underestimate your opponent, this would be a really good lesson for Vegeta going forward in the tournament, because lo and behold, I just definitely don't think that Vegeta is going to be taken out by Kale, as much as I really think that they need to do justice to someone like Kale. They need to actually show her being able to take on something like Goku or Vegeta, just kind of throwing the fan base a bone for the fact that she is this female who's a Super Saiyan, who they've made this berserker roid rage monster, hopefully for good reasons, but they've made her this Broly monster. They need to give her at least one shining moment in this tournament, and if it's going up against someone like Vegeta, then I definitely think it's an interesting way to, I guess, I think it's going to be an interesting way to showcase her power while not necessarily diminishing something like what Vegeta's been trying to get throughout this entire series. So I agree with you there. In terms of story, though, I don't necessarily know how something like this would come about. Personally, I think the only way that this would kind of come about is, I think for the most part, from what we saw in the intro, and like I always say, the intro is probably not something that we should be looking at too heavily, but the fact that she has been, even in the anime that we've seen her in, being very, I guess, kind of timid and not necessarily responsive to anything, maybe she's having a very difficult time in this tournament, you know, not necessarily standing out one way or the other, and then something just really has to set her off, don't you think?
In episode, what is it, 88, I think, when they oh no,
yeah,
88 or 89,
no, it was 89
when they showed her. It's funny, why is she with that gang if she hates fighting? Like, did you see, like, when Kaba knocked out one of the gang members, she's like it's just like, it's just kind of funny to me. And then it looks like she doesn't even want to fight in the intro. Like, she looks like she's so scared being in that tournament, you know what I mean? So it's just so funny that she's hanging out with Khalifa and all these badasses who fucking carry knives and shit. You know,
yeah, like,
but
the biker gang of the Saiyans,
the biker gang. I hope we kind of get some more info on that, like why she's with them, and like, you know, why she's there, and why she's so like afraid to fight, or why she seems so opposed to fighting, you know, or like, I guess, shy, cowardly, whatever you want to use for her. But it's funny because I think we're looking at this at a funny way now. Let's look at the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament. What happened there, right? Vegeta ended up against Kaba, and he sort of taught Kaba how to use the transformation. Now, going by what the show's telling us, it seems like Kaba's going to try to help Khalifa use her potential and become a Super Saiyan, right? Now, obviously, I don't know if Kale or any of the gang members are going to be watching, but if they are, I can presume they at least can pick up some of that trick, you know, at least what Kaba's putting down. So if that's the case, now she does... Okay, what I'm getting at here is that if Vegeta ends up fighting her, he's dealing with a completely different Saiyan than what he dealt with in the Universe 6 tournament. Because Kaba there was a warrior. He was trained by the head captain himself of the Saiyan Elite Force. Rinzo, you know. Rinzo, you know, and then he was like a frontline, you know, he was in the wars, you know what I mean? Like, you know, he looked up to Frost for all the stuff he did, you know, and he was not afraid to go toe-to-toe with Vegeta. They went at it, you know. Even after seeing Vegeta kick so much ass, he still went in there like, let's do this, you know. Let's Gatling gun this shit, right? But anyways, Kale does not seem like that at all. So, judging by what we've seen from the intro in episode 89, which is not much to go off of, but they did showcase two similar things. She seems to be opposed to fighting. Like, the girl looks so shook and, like, feels so bad for her. I feel like she was thrown into this shit, you know, and she's just like, what am I doing here? You know, and then for whatever reason, she's going to unleash that form, the Berserker form. Maybe someone's trying to hurt her. Maybe she's seeing Vegeta fight Kaba, and Vegeta's actually beating Kaba, you know. And remember, the Universe 6 tournament, the stakes weren't really that high. It was just the Earth being moved, and would that really have been a bad thing? Other than maybe Champa being a bit more reckless, I guess. I don't know. So there was really no stakes there. I seen D3 argue. It's whatever. The Earth was to be moved, that's whatever. Here, Vegeta would have to put away that whole mentor mentality and knock Kaba off the stage. You know what I mean? He would have to do that. There's no trying to teach him this, teach him that. You know, you have to go in balls deep, otherwise his baby girl's gonna die. His son's gonna die, you know? So he's going to have to really go in there. So that could lead to her transforming. But my whole point here is that Vegeta will be dealing with the Saiyan that he has not dealt with before. Because not only is she shy, not only is she, because you could say Gohan was shy, but he still was very, how do you say, by the time the Namek arc came around, Gohan still went in there, you know, he was not afraid to go in there and just fight. She's going to be very different, and on top of that, Vegeta will be dealing with a new form entirely, and like I mentioned before, she may have this form, just by seeing Kaba teach Khalifa, so she may have the form, but she just does not like it, maybe because she hates going into it, or for whatever reason. We don't know if she didn't have control over it. It's a bit too early to know that, but my whole point here again is the fact that Vegeta will be dealing with a Saiyan that he's never dealt with before in the tournament, if he does end up going up against Kale one-on-one.
Oh man, I definitely understand where that's coming from, and look, I guess the real question here in terms of story, I mean, you and I already did this video where, you know, I guess we're kind of biased, or at least I am biased in a way where, you know, they've been having these back and forth, you know, with everything going on with Goku having to recruit all of Team, you know, Universe 7. We've been seeing over the last couple episodes, they're focusing on Kaba and they're focusing on Universe 6 a little. And going into this tournament, the only teams that we're going to be looking out for are Universe 7, 6, and 11. And, you know, with the Pride Troopers, I really think that either of those three are the only ones that we're actually going to be able to see win. And as we talked about in a previous video, when we talked about how Frost should fight, or no, Frost and Kaba should fight Frieza, and how we talked about it would be kind of a poetic story benefiting way to show Frost basically sacrificing himself in the tournament to save Kaba, both giving him a redemption and getting rid of Frieza and Frost at the same time, while not necessarily while having an epic fight and everything that we want to see. To me, I guess the same question goes to this, the same question, like, does Kale use this power to eliminate Vegeta and also help Kaba survive, if that's how you want to say, like, if something kind of comes in and Vegeta's like, well, I have to fight for my family and blah blah blah, and he gets to a point, you know, probably later down in the tournament where, you know, the best of the best are there, or people who are extremely lucky are the ones just basically fighting still, and Vegeta's just like, well, you know I like Kaba and everything, and this is nothing personal, but I do have a new baby and blah blah blah, and he decides that he's going to take out Kaba because, you know, it's his basically, you know, I guess student or something, mentor-student mentality was like, well, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be me, and it's going to be merciful. And then Kale just comes in and utilizes this power that either she's been showing off, or this is the first time that she's shown it off, and she ends up taking out Vegeta with her. Is that something you'd like to see, or is this something like Vegeta is one of the last people, he shouldn't be taken out so easily by somebody like this?
Now, it's a bit weird, but I was gonna say this. Sorry, I just want to say this real quick. Now, with Vegeta actually getting eliminated by Kale, I can see that happening for one reason. Now, before people chew me out in the comment section saying, "You weird, what's wrong with you? You stupid." No, guys, just give me a second here. The reason why I can see Vegeta getting eliminated is because you gotta remember this: Toriyama does things that just are like spontaneous. Now, you can argue that he does it, you know, to fuck with the fans. Now, you can argue that he's doing it for fan service at this point. Whatever reason it could be, he does stuff he did not expect, right? With that being said, Vegeta being eliminated, it actually could make a bit of sense, because think about it. If now, depending on if we're continuing off what happened with Frost and Frieza, even if Frieza and Vegeta get eliminated, there's still Goku, there's still 17, and there's still Gohan. So there's still 3 other characters, one who is above God tier, and 1 and 2 who are close to God tier. So if Frieza and Vegeta do get eliminated, it doesn't really hurt them that much, because 17 and that energy barrier, you know, who knows if there's any limitations to that. So 17 can still be a great asset to Goku. You know, they may have not worked together, but again, if it ends up being like Goku versus, like, you know, Jiren and Toppo and like Dispo or the General, whoever, right? You could still have 17 there to help Goku. It doesn't have to be Vegeta, because think about it. That's one thing why I think they're actually making these other side characters so much stronger now, is because of that reason. You know, you're going to have more stronger fighters on Universe 7. So Vegeta getting eliminated by Kale, I actually could see that happening. And it would be kind of poetic, because if you remember, Beerus, who's a deity, you know, Vegeta used a rage boost on him. And, you know, Kale will be using a rage boost on Vegeta, who now has the power of a deity, you know? So it'd be kind of poetic if Kale did do that and actually took Vegeta out, you know? I'm sure people would be pissed off by it, but, I mean, that'd be kind of funny. Plus, it would be a throwback to, you know, Broly fucking up Vegeta in the movie.
Yeah, just completely taking him out. No, I agree. And, like, we're not necessarily saying this is going to happen at the immediate start of the tournament. I imagine this is going to be near the winding down of it. You have to give Vegeta a good run. Like, you have to give him a good show.
Why though? He gave a good run in the last tournament. Give it to someone else.
Well, I know, but that's the point. Like, you're gonna have to give him a good run. And like, look, I'm not saying that some of the more anticipated fights couldn't possibly happen. You know, we could end up seeing, like some people have been wanting to, we could see Vegeta versus Topo or something during this particular match or something. But having Kale, I agree. Having Kale take out Vegeta is somewhat poetic, and also saves the fact that maybe Kaba would win this whole thing. Maybe if they protect his ass, because he is not like, just generally not going to be the strongest of this tournament. But when he goes and sees his old master and he says, like I've mentioned before in several videos, he goes to his master and he says, you know, with that power, our universe will be safe. Like, with that power, our universe will, like, there's hints, just as much as there's hints that Gohan's going to be the one who wins all of this, there's hints that Kaba, even if he's not the strongest, could possibly win all of this. And that will be the big twist at the end, is that Universe 6 actually wins this tournament, because they did not, like, kind of in the same way that Universe 7 won the last tournament. Not because they deserved it, but just because of kind of blind luck and respect and everything that goes along with that. So, I mean, yeah.
Don't you have a video about that on your channel?
Yeah, I've had a lot of videos about how Universe 6 could potentially win, and why I'm interested in their team probably more than anyone else. But I mean, I'll link them in the description section below. You can see them at the end of the video.
Shameless plug, man.
But yeah, like, I definitely like the idea that maybe Vegeta gets taken out by Kale, and like always, and maybe they can't just keep overusing this trope, but it just seems like something that would be useful in this particular tournament, is people taking out other people by taking out themselves as well. Because if Kale ends up, the same way that if Frost ends up beating Frieza, if Kale ends up beating Vegeta, I don't necessarily see them winning out. I feel like that disrespects the character and the strength and everything. If that were to happen, people would start speculating that, oh, this form is stronger than this form or something like that, when it really just needs to be a story-wise, like, this was the last-ditch effort that they could potentially do, or a mistake or something that ends up you know, disqualifying one particular character or another, and not necessarily, oh, you know, the Berserker form, or whatever you want to call it, legendary Super Saiyan form for Kale is stronger than that of Vegeta Blue. Like, that would be, I don't necessarily see that happening.
I can agree with that.
Anyway, guys, we're going to leave it right there. Please make sure to go down in the comment section below and tell us what y'all think about this. Do you think that this fight should happen? Do you think the story reasons we gave are good? Or do you think that that's not what should happen, if in like story-wise? Like I always say, please make sure to go check out MJ from his channel. It makes awesome content for you guys. Daily anime content for anyone who's interested. Obviously, you really should go over, because you will be interested. Works really hard over there. And anyway, guys, we're going to catch you on the next video. Please don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. Share this video out to all your friends, and we're going to keep making more of these if you like them. Bye.